Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lex, and in celebration of the new school year, I decided to make a video detailing some of my favorite queens to read about right now. Also, because I'm going back for my marketing program, the time in between uploads will be a little bit longer than usual because of all the schoolwork I'll have, but I'll try my best to upload in as timely a manner as possible. Now, with that being said, let's get right into the history. One queen that I've been reading a lot about recently is Queen Victoria, and to be more specific, I've been reading a lot about her early life because this is something about Queen Victoria that I can relate to. In her diaries, Victoria writes that she felt very lonely, she didn't have many friends growing up, and she played with her dolls a lot, and that also sums up my childhood. I liked history very early on, and some of the girls in my grade school thought that was weird, so because of that I kept to myself. I didn't want to be made fun of for it, and I played a lot with my dolls because I wanted a break from school and feeling sad all the time about something I like. So that's an aspect of Victoria that I can relate to. Another reason I really enjoy learning about Queen Victoria is because we have her diaries and we're able to see snapshots of what was going on around her at the time, like her reacting to her children being born, how her relationship with Albert was, politics, family gossip, and to me it's very interesting to see how she reacted to the world around her, and the fact that we have over 140 volumes of her diary beginning when she was about age 13 all the way until she died at 81, to me that's interesting. That's an entire lifetime of someone's inner thoughts documented, and I just can't get enough reading it because to me it's so interesting to see somebody from 200 years ago go through life like anyone else does and how they dealt with the hand that they were given. And to me it's just very interesting, and I feel like we don't see a lot of historical figures in an intimate or personal light like that. So I'm really grateful that Victoria's diaries have survived over the years, and it's a shame that I believe it was Beatrice edited out some of the words in the original diaries, so I wonder how much more we could see if the diaries weren't edited. Another aspect of Victoria that I enjoy reading is her relationship with Prince Albert and their marriage, and she writes very fondly of him. There's a lot of good memories about when they were first married, when their children were born, and right after he passes in December 1861, you can feel Victoria's grief as she mourns this man that she loved for a good chunk of her life up until that point. They were married for almost 20 years when he passed, and her diaries humanize her relationship with Albert, and I feel like a lot of people, when they think royal marriage, they think misery because it's arranged, but in the case of Albert and Victoria, they were very happy together, and I'm just a sucker for a love story, and I find Albert and Victoria's story to be very tragic and in some cases very sweet from how she writes about him. A third point about Victoria that is intriguing to me is how her relationship with her own mother influenced Victoria's relationship with her 9 children. So Victoria grew up under the rules of the Kensington system, which was very restrictive and was essentially to break down Victoria's willpower. Due to the restrictive nature of the Kensington system, where Victoria was isolated from other children and heavily monitored, so much that when she became queen, Victoria banished her mother and John Conroy from her life due to this emotional and mental hardship that they put on her for 18 years. Which leads me to wonder, is would the Kensington system have been put in place if Victoria's father didn't pass away when Victoria was so young? Would Victoria have had a better relationship with her mother and a better maternal figure to where she would be able to be a better mother to her own children when she started having them? It's interesting to think about, and it's one of those what ifs in history. I would be interested to hear other people's discussions on that in the comments. The second queen that I find very interesting to learn about is Nefertari, wife of Ramesses the Great, or Ramesses II, who is personally one of my favorite Egyptian pharaohs, and ancient Egypt was actually my first love when it came to history. That's the subject that got me interested in all this to start with. The 19th dynasty of Egypt is my favorite dynasty, one of my favorites, and there's a documentary by Dr. Joanne Fletcher called Egypt's Lost Queens, I believe, and she discusses how Nefertari was a diplomat and would correspond with the wives of other ancient rulers and send them gifts and establish these sisterly relations in order to secure peace. And I find that very interesting. The third queen that I find intriguing is the Polish-born Maria Leszczyńska, who was the wife of King Louis XV of France. Maria Leszczyńska I also find interesting to read about because she's one of the many wives in French history who's kind of pushed to the sidelines, and their husbands' mistresses are talked more often than the wife is. In the case of Louis XV, I feel like Madame de Pompadour, his mistress, gets talked a lot more often than his wife does. And Maria Leszczyńska had to put up with years of infidelity, and it makes me sad that that was the life that she was subject to, but unfortunately that was simply the reality of a queen consort or empress consort during this time in history. I've read that Louis XV for 8 years had a happy and idyllic relationship with his wife, and by all accounts it seems that he loved her, but by 1733 is when he started to mess around. And I know the time period was different, but me personally, I would not consider that love if somebody, heaven forbid, ever did that to me. I also feel like I don't read a lot about Slavic historical figures. I'm Czech and Italian, and Czech is part of the Slavic group, and I read a lot about Italian historical figures, but I would like to learn more about Slavic historical figures, and she was also one of the very first people I started reading about in that regard, so she kind of holds a special place in my heart. The fourth and final queen I will be discussing in this video is Alexandra of Denmark, the wife of King Edward VII, who was the son of Queen Victoria. Queen Alexandra is interesting to me because her life is completely different from Queen Victoria's. Queen Victoria and Albert were loyal to each other and were happy, whereas Edward VII was not that great a husband to Alexandra. He was unfaithful to her for much, if not all, of their marriage. Alexandra was a very social woman, whereas Queen Victoria became very private after Albert passed away. Alexandra was also a lot more hands-on as a mother compared to Queen Victoria, and a lot of women of that age, it was sort of unusual for royal women to be so hands-on with their children. Usually that was left to maids and the governess. I also find that Alexandra has the same look as Princess Diana, the one where they look up at the camera, and it's funny how history repeats itself because King Charles III, his wife Camilla, her grandmother was mistress to Edward VII, Alexandra's husband, so that's funny how history repeats itself. Overall, Alexandra is how I believe a queen should act. Poised, full of elegance, compassionate, always helping others, and her life is just fascinating to read about. It's a real rags to riches story. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Please let me know what you thought of the video and who your favorite queens to learn about are down in the comments section below. I read the comments and I like to see what people's opinions are. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna be busy with school over the next little while, and I'll try to upload videos in a timely manner, although they might not be as frequent as they were before. If you would like to support my channel, please consider becoming a patron or joining my channel membership program. If you would like to leave a one-time donation, please consider leaving me a super thanks. It is not expected, but it is always appreciated. If you would like to chat with other members of my community, please join my Discord or follow my Instagram. Thank you so much again for watching. Please subscribe to Sweet Sister Tea, a channel full of random facts and lots of sparkles, and until next time, bye!
There's a part of myself I'm missing. Now I got a lot to learn.